Orgs and Rocket League chat, that is the conversation topic today, and an interesting one to discuss. There is 3 things I want to discuss. One comes from Reddit, one comes from Twitter, and one comes from First Touch, part of the episode today. If you guys don't know what the heck's been going on, let me kind of give you some history and some context, and we'll work our way through it. So, first things first, RLCS went down. Obviously, we went through the European Regional. It was the 3rd one. Liquid wins. Everybody's happy, except for the teams that didn't make it, like G1, obviously. Team Liquid ends up clutching. They punch their ticket as the 2nd place seed for Europe and are able to be successful. To which Twitter or social media posts or congratulatory things just don't happen. The only thing that does is Team Liquid retweets one of their players' tweets like, yeah, we made it, we did good things, everything's awesome, and that's it. That's all that happened. And this sparked some conversation, to say the least. A lot of people who, again, may not always understand the context of everything, or, you know, maybe a little bit too haste to make some assumptions or some decisions, decided to basically state, I find it ridiculous that you have big organizations like Team Liquid, like FaZe, like whatever. It feels like they don't really pay attention or love their team. Like, they don't give them the efforts that they are technically deserving of. Like, you see teams like Version 1 or NRG. Like, NRG makes a ton of content on their YouTube surrounding their Rocket League team. They did a content house last summer to build some videos and stuff with the guys. Like, they put efforts into building up and trying to grow their team's success, right? You see Version 1. Obviously, we talked about in previous videos their watch parties. We've talked about the after parties that they throw for the public. You talk about the March to the Match and like the breakfast tacos that they do and like some of the crazy above and beyond stuff. I think no matter what, who you are, like the efforts of Version 1 are felt. I know as someone who casts for them, I also feel them. Like, what other casters for the day 0 streams get to go to every event and shoot content? That is not a thing that is normal, nor is it something that I take for granted. That stuff is absolutely insane that they allow myself and Super sometimes to do that stuff. And the fact that they're running multiple watch parties across the country is wild. It's absolutely insane. So this has been noted, and it's not me just the one saying this, it is other people. So Jorby created this thread and said, hey, small orgs that give a established orgs that just want another game in the portfolio. And this is kind of a dig at Team Liquid. You look at teams like Moist, K-Corp, both have massive watch parties because of their creators, Commando, the owner, and, you know, you also have Moist Critical pulling like 30, 40K viewers. You know, they're doing what they can to bring some love and attention to it. V1 obviously goes above and beyond. Space Station has hired a bunch of creators and try to do some cool events here and there. NRG makes a bunch of content. Dignitas, all the vlog stuff that they're doing, all the behind the scenes stuff with Caleb, all that stuff is investment into growing the name, and it also makes a massive difference for Rocket League. You see the attention that Strawtech is giving us with 11-month resub. Strawtech, thank you for the resub. Greatly appreciate you. But like, those types of things are recognized by more than just the people involved. It affects the fan bases. You see how much of a fan base Space Station has, and how much, after getting rid of Reddles, Space Station ended up redacting and biting their own tongue because they know that the fan base that they have, a lot is in portion to Reddles' dad, etc. Right? He talks about why he's excited about Rule 1, because you have a creator who is endemic to the space starting his own org, and the potential that Rule 1 can do because of that. Because Civic is insane. We've seen his support in the Rocket League scene. And Sunless is one of our biggest creators, if not arguably the biggest. So he says shout outs to that. He's like, no, I know I mentioned a few bigger orgs in there, and I didn't put other smaller ones in, but the main point isn't the size, it's the amount of effort these orgs put into the scene. Listed orgs off the top of my head, there are more, and I love every org that puts forth that effort. Crowley doubles down and says, hey, they may not be high on that list because they don't pull numbers like KC or Moist. But if you want to see an org putting in the effort, every regional LAN follow V1, post-game interviews, content collaborations, clips, they put all that stuff out. And this sparks some conversation about, you know, the scene doesn't need bigger orgs. It needs orgs that care. There's a lot of people that see the notoriety of Version 1 and what they've been able to apply despite not being a massive name brand. Version 1 also only has 3 or 4 teams and can kind of put a little bit more effort with their staff into certain things like Rocket League, which is their most successful title. teams like Team Liquid have 15, 16, 17 different teams in different esports, it's a little bit tougher to do that. They're also a massive organization because of that. And for them to not put out anything until 3 days later feels a little bit awkward. You guys won on the 13th, and 3 days later, you take a clip of you guys scoring the winning goal. Like, you took a Twitch clip, downloaded it, posted it, and said, you're E-Regional champs. Good job. To which Dignitas had a goofy response and was like, you're world champs. Violent Panda, K-Dop, and Turbo from Season 5, which I thought was really funny. Like, you have yet to show real support to the team, and then you're going to do it on, like, basically your buffering is not a good look. It's one of those, like, if you're going to do it this half-assed, you might as well not have done it at all. Which then, again, sparks more conversation. And, again, this is where, again, I've been pushing this narrative of this and that, but I also want to take you kind of the other side of things, because there is two parts to every story. And Xpere, the coach of Liquid, explains it well. He says, hey, being able to go to boot camp at any time we want, having the people behind us to help us out, not having to worry about this, having a staff that supports us every day, that is way more important than a 5-minute Photoshop design saying, hey, we won or we made it to the major. You know, this is the same org who supported two 14-year-old players and a 16-year-old with barely any experience behind the scenes and allowed them to represent one of the best orgs in the world. And now we're arguably one of the best players in the, like, best teams in the world. And it's this contrast of outward support, which I still think as an organization, your brand is everything. And if you've got a team that's going to a major and is the second best team in a game, those things are important. You should be promoting your team. You should be trying to trickle that fan base that you have with Liquid over to Rocket League as well. You want that support in Rotterdam. But at the same time, if behind the scenes they're doing everything right, we've got support, we're able to boot camp, they're taking care of us, you know, financially we're okay. You know, anytime we need stuff, they're willing to take a risk on us and believe in us and like all that kind of stuff. Like, which do you value more? And for a lot of the players, they're like, yeah, I don't give a if you're not promoting us on that. But to the public, again, it's dual balance. So someone was asking, hey, why are they getting hate? What's going on? And again, Jayski over at Shift says, hey, they're one of the biggest esports organizations in the world with plenty of resources and having made a pretty significant investment in the Rocket League team, even though the payoff hasn't been there up until now, right? And he goes, hey, by not crafting content around the team and not having anything prepared to celebrate an accomplishment, it just feels like they don't care. And it's like an afterthought. And that wasn't the only thing. Like, it happened to FaZe as well. FaZe comes in with this crazy announcement, right? Like, they interrupt the RLCS broadcast. They have this sick rendered video. It comes in and we're like, wow, FaZe, an org that's known for making content, right? And when's the last time you saw FaZe care about their team? I digress and say, hey, they've made some documentaries that are pretty good and stuff like that. But like, I see some of the other stuff that's done and the support that some of these other people have. And it's just like, man, Rocket League, it needs help. It needs help. And a lot of these orgs, you would hope, have that same level of investment and love. But again, easier said than done. So I am curious on how you guys feel about it. Do you really think that orgs should be doing this stuff and should be making more content with our teams and doing all that kind of stuff? Or should we just learn to appreciate the ones that do? You know, if FaZe, Dignitas, Version 1, BDS, you know, these teams are the ones doing behind-the-scene documentaries and doing that stuff, maybe we as a fan base need to stop caring as much about the teams that aren't doing it and put more love and affection towards the teams that are. Like, you have the ability to choose who you root for and who you cheer for. And if it's not tied to a player and it's tied to an org and you like an org or their brand or whatever it is, that is on you to choose whether you support them or not. If there's certain players you don't like, nothing is forcing you to support them. So again, while I personally want more content, I want more things to be able to do other than just comm videos. Comm videos are a good start. It's a good place to, you know, give us a behind the scenes look at some certain things. So again, I think the more the merrier, the better. I'm super happy when they do it. It's always super entertaining to see that kind of stuff, and it helps grow. And again, it gets me to know the players and become more invested in the space. But Psyonix could also help with that as well. There's multiple people that could step up and do this stuff. And that's why I think LANs are as great as they are, because at LANs, we do get that content that we don't get anywhere else. We get the in-person interviews. We get the goofy skits. We get the sketches that we don't get anywhere else. The This Is Rocket League ESPN thing that we told them to do like 6 years ago that they finally did, where it's like, those are hilarious. You know, those are the things that we want to see, not just live and in person at LAN. We want to see these during regionals and stuff as well. So trying to supplement that content from both sides, both the Psyonix team, who works really hard, obviously, the orgs that have a bunch of things that they're trying to balance as well. But again, you're looking at the teams that do it already, and they're hopefully just getting started. So my recommendation for you is support the ones that do it, or the ones that you see do it, and you know, praise them for their efforts, because a lot of work goes into that stuff. You're talking about how much staff it takes to edit, record, and do all the stuff behind the scenes. It's wild. So again, I think some people definitely putting their frustrations or their anger into the wrong things. And while I do feel like there's an expectation that is set, that's really what it boils down to. I mean, you look at NRG. NRG has been a team that's been together for 2.5 years now. They were dominant for a really long time. And for the first time, they're going through some adversity, and then they get all the hate in the world. All the frustration comes out at them. And it's like, they are allowed to have struggles. They're human. And the difficulty is, because you are the players that you are and you have the expectations that you are, that contrast is weighted so heavily against them when they're not the top 1, 2, 3 team in North America like they've been for like their entire history of their careers. It's wild. Team Liquid is an organization that's been around for how many years? That's where that expectation is set. Whether you want to be mad at them or not, again, I think that's just fans being passionate and wanting to see more from their team and is trying to hold them accountable. But again, if they're not doing that and they're not living up to your expectation, then time to find someone else, you know? It's crazy how that works. But yeah, I definitely feel, I hope more content is made. I hope more things are made. I think our fan base, the ones that we have that are sticking around, are super dedicated and super passionate and want to consume everything. And there's never enough. So crazy stuff going on, but hopefully that provides some information about what's going on with the criticism and the orgs and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, my recommendation is learn to appreciate the ones that are there and enjoy the memes along the way. So that is going to do it for today's video. Hopefully that helps you guys stay informed of what the heck's going on. But yeah, it's again, some of it is, I think, unjustified, especially when the players themselves and the coach themselves are being like, yeah, they support the heck out of us. They just don't do it in an hourly fashion like others do. So I just think you can do both. A little bit of both would be cool. Let me know what you guys think. Do you feel the same way? Comments down below, as always. Links to everything I'm talking about in the description. And as always, if you enjoy the content, like, subscribe, notifications. And later tonight, I will be casting, apparently, Jack's The Bubble $10,000 tournament with all the bubble teams from North America. Come hang out with us. We'll be covering 4 matches of Swiss. Twitch.tv/Lawler. Starting at like 7 Eastern, 6 Central, something like that. I'll be here. Will you? We'll see you then.